So the ideal classroom is a classroom that is versatile, that allows teachers to do what they need to do. They can work independently with students, they can have students work in groups, or they can work with the whole class. When a classroom is set up in a way or with equipment that can't be changed quickly, then a teacher is stuck with whatever they have. And if they set up a classroom for a lecture and something happens during the instruction and they realize they need to break up into small groups, then it's not easy to do that. And that limitation causes teachers to stick with the one type of setting that they have, and they can't do much else beyond that. So an ideal classroom is going to have a lot of opportunities for students to work independently, to work in groups, or to work as a whole class. And when we can do that efficiently, when we can do it quickly, and it's seamless from one activity to the next, then it gives teachers an enormous amount of freedom to do what they need and when they need to do it without much effort in between, so we don't lose instructional time. Having good aesthetics in a classroom is really important. I think there's been a lot of research done, especially for the workplace, that looks at the way that a room is set up, the colors that are used on the walls, the furniture that we have. The idea of creating an environment that celebrates learning is incredibly important. And when you walk into a classroom, no matter how many posters a teacher puts on the wall, it's still a cinder block wall, usually painted beige or gray, and it doesn't say anything to the students about the value of what they're experiencing. It gives them the feeling that they're institutionalized. And instead of creating an environment in which they recognize their own individuality, the personalities of the teachers, and they have the opportunity to experience education both formally and then informally, where you have some softer settings. You have the ability to personalize the space so that students don't feel like they go from one room to the next room and they're all the same. Technology in education is really important. When you look in the world that the students are going into, technology is everywhere. There's computers on gas or on trash trucks now. There are computers everywhere that a student goes. Any job that they're going to have to use computers. So having students use technology, not in some symbolic way where they do a PowerPoint presentation and they type up a paper in Word. While those are important aspects of education, it's certainly not what they're going to be doing on a day-to-day basis. So students need to be engaged with technology in real-world ways. And if we don't have the technology in the classrooms, the everyday classroom, not a computer lab that they go to, but if they don't have the technology in the classroom that they're in, then they don't use it in real-world ways, because we use it every day in the world. So what we need to do is have the technology at their fingertips, at the ready, so that if we need to do something, if they need to look something up, send an email to the teacher, that they can do it right then, that they can collaborate on work together, find information on the web, do spontaneous research. Having those capacities in the classroom lets students use technology in a real-world setting, and that's vitally important for their success. Having the Node desks has been a really interesting experience. It wasn't something that I was sure was going to work in the classroom because of it being on casters, and so students were going to be able to roll around as much as they wanted. And that, as a teacher, scared me a little bit, that they were going to take advantage of that and race each other around the building. But to be honest, that hasn't happened at all. Most of the students will move slightly in the chair, but they won't move to the point of distraction. I think it actually helps them sort of function well, and they have a little bit of freedom that they wouldn't have otherwise. But for me as a teacher, as I look at the chairs, it's really easy to do grouping. So when I send students out in the hall, they don't have to fall on the floor, or they don't have to leave their stuff in the classroom. They can just simply get up, pull their chairs out in the hall, and then do their work and bring it back in. So grouping students and having larger or smaller group discussions has been incredibly simple and effective. So when I first got my chairs, I was worried that they would only be effective for my AP students, the higher level students. And that hasn't proved to be the case at all. All of my students have done well with it. They seem to handle them maturely. They're not worried about rolling around, or I'm not worried about them rolling around and causing trouble anymore. they just use the desks. The newness is worn off. The first couple of days there was some physics experiments to see how fast people could be slung around, but after that it's been pretty simple, and the kids are respectful and seem to enjoy the chairs, but they haven't been abusing them, and it's been working great at all of the levels of instruction.